Welcome back to PT's RC Need for Speed. A little bit different area here. We're not behind the green screen. Today we are going to introduce a new segment here. This is one lap, one Coke. Or in this case, a Diet Dr. Pepper and a Coke. So this here, we all recognize this guy. This is, of course, Dustin Malicoat, Team GFRP rep. But, you know, we see all the GFRP. We're not here for that today.
Okay.
We are here for the quasi-speed tires.
Okay.
So, just to start off, why go into tires?
Honestly, the biggest reason was we go to all these races all over the place, and we'll have this spec tire at this race, and then we have another spec tire at another race, and every spec tire that we have has multiple compounds. So, and then some places allow two different spec tires. So if you have two different spec tires that each have 2 or 3 compounds, now you're taking 6 tires or 6 different compounds for one car and multiple tires for each car, and it just becomes a pain. So I honestly, I talked to a couple tire manufacturers and said, hey, it would be really great if we could have a tire that's specifically for dirt oval. This is kind of where I think a good tire would be, and basically got nowhere with it. So I just eventually was like, okay, well, screw it, I'll just make them. So yeah, that's kind of what we did. I did some research, found a place that I could get them made, worked with the company, and yeah, that's what we did. So made a tire.
And there's the story of how the quasi-speeds were born.
Yep.
So when you set off in designing and making these tires, were these originally made to be like a specific indoor or outdoor kind of tire?
No, I knew the goal. If the goal is going to be a spec tire, the goal's got to be, it needs to work on everything. So it needs to be able to work on a fresh loamy track. It needs to be able to work on a track that's kind of in between loamy and polished off. And then you need to be able to have the ability to kind of grind it down and make it into a slick to be on a polished off, completely polished off, hooked up track. So that's kind of what we did. I know based off of the tires that we ran in the past and what tires worked and didn't work, kind of the tread patterns of things that you needed in a tire to be able to do it. So we just kind of designed it that way, basically.
How long about did it take to go from this concept of this all-around tire stuck up there somewhere to actually being in the bags and in the shops?
It was probably 7-8 months, at least, I would say. It's also the first tire I've ever made, so it was several different design changes before I ever even had one made. I had several of them 3D printed, kind of talked to other guys, talked to my team drivers as well as, track owners and just people in general in the hobby that I trust. So yeah, it just took a long time. And then we ended up changing the carcass on the rear tires after we had some samples. We got samples in, and the carcass was just too thin, and it would expand too much, and it wasn't going to hold prep well. And I just made the decision. It's like, okay, let's go ahead and sacrifice the month and a half extra lead time, which is kind of why they're just now available versus being available a couple months ago. Because it pushed us back about 2 months by changing the carcass on the rear tire.
Oh, wow.
But it was worth it. So it's just kind of learn as we go.
Yeah. So I've heard a lot of things, how these tires are supposed to work and how they were constructed and stuff. What makes them different from, let's say, the normal stock tire here we have, the J Concept Sprinter?
I'd say the carcass is the biggest difference. I mean, obviously the J-Con tire is it's a pin tire, but the carcass is a lot thinner and it expands easier. So that's the biggest difference. I would say on track, today I saw several people with our tire, and then several people still with the J-Con tire. The A mains. I think there were definitely some quasi-speed tires in the A mains today. Well, I know there was because I was in a few of them, but yeah, it's. I think once people get them and we actually like start testing with them and running them and breaking them in better and things like that. Like my midget, I glued up a set today and I put them on the car, and they worked. I mean, I barely lightly sanded them. Obviously with no tire prep in them whatsoever. It's just, it's not the perfect situation, but it was good enough. Like it worked, and didn't really have too much issues with it, but it wasn't as good as it could be.
And that's another thing. So take for comparison, like me and my dad were both racing tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I was racing on some of the new tires tonight, and my dad was racing on J Concepts.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us had just pulled the tires out of our bags and just glued them up pretty much while we had just gotten here this morning. And it was a significant difference between cars. We were both running them on Midwest. He could not hook up at all, no traction. And even my tires, straight out of the bag on my Midwest, I was getting great grip, running great all night, never even changed them. Is there anything that you would plan for in the construction to make it that way?
No, honestly, we just got lucky. I mean, really, whenever it comes down to it, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's the first tire we've ever made, and honestly, we got lucky that everything worked out as well as it did. I mean, we tested 6 different compounds before we settled on this one. So we had all that. Unfortunately, like 4 of the compounds we tested with the old carcass. So, but even with that, we just kind of knew that they were too soft. So I think we had tested one compound that was harder than the one we have, that what we ended up going with, and it was just too hard. It wasn't going to work. Any situation where you were going to have to compete against another tire, I didn't feel like it was going to work. So we went with this compound, and
had to get in
so far so good.
Had to get in the perfect Goldilocks zone. Not too
yes.
Not too firm, not too soft.
Yep.
Had to be perfect. So moving forward, now that we have the quasi speeds, now that they're getting out there, are there any plans for anything coming next? Any new tires? Anything new?
So I do want to do another tire, just because there's several tracks that need a more ground off or ghosted tire. So with having that, like, I want to take the exact same tires that we have and basically have it to where it's like pre-ghosted. So it would just be the exact same tire. The only difference that we might do, just because of the tracks being more hooked up that we would be running those on, is go to a thicker carcass on the front. But outside of that, like, we don't want to change anything. The tire itself works. The carcass on the rear is very good for either or. Like, I'm actually tested right before we did this. I tested a ghosted set of tires of our tire, and they hooked up pretty well. So just kind of knowing that that's the direction of a lot of tracks are, as they run like more of a ghosted tire or a slick. I want to be able to provide that, so people then again still have one tire, one compound, and then they don't have to go through the hassle of grinding the tires down.
Yeah. So. You even said he tested, so the prototypes are out there. They're getting run.
Well,
getting tested.
The prototype would just be one of our tires ground down. I mean, that's essentially all it is. So essentially all we're trying to do is take away the work of grinding a brand new set of tires down to nothing. So just go ahead and get them out of the bag that way.
So looking at, they've been out, they've been raced around a little bit. What kind of feedback have you been seeing from them so far?
So the feedback's been really good. Everybody seems to be pretty positive with them. They're happy with how well they hook up right out of the bag. Yeah. And then some people, I've had a couple people say that, they've had theirs for, a week. They got them here a week or 2 ago, or whenever I brought them in the last time. They got them and they've just doped the holy crap out of them. And they're like, they held up really well, and then they work. So that's going to be the true test to me, I think, is when people really pour the chemicals to them, because we're racers and we're going to.
Yeah.
So kind of just see where they go and how they hold up to that. I took a set and beat the crap out of them with dope. I mean, I doped them, I heated them, doped them, put them in tubes, did everything like crazy. And then last time I was here, Mike Murphy stole them. I don't think he realized he stole them, but he took them, and he kept them at the end of the day. So, but honestly, like, there was a difference in them, but it's not like it was massive difference, which was good. But that wasn't any dope applied that day. So get to a track where you can prep tires on a normal every round basis, and then we'll kind of see how they hold up and everything there. I think they're going to hold up really well, honestly.
Yeah. As we start to round this off here, coming back to where we started, is there any thanks or any shout-outs you'd like to give for anybody helping produce the tire or anything?
Not necessarily like with the tire, aside from, you know, the team guys and everybody that helped me with it. But my biggest thing is a thank you to the customers. Thank you to the tracks that are, you know, jumping on board and wanting this to be their spec tire. I've have probably 5 or 6 tracks already that said that, you know, January 1, our tire is a spec tire for their track now. So it's just, I don't know, just Dirt Oval community as a whole, being willing to take a chance on a tire. Some of them took a chance before, you know, we even had the tire in hand. They just they trusted us and our abilities to produce something that would be quality, and that's what they did. So I appreciate that from that. And then, you know, I appreciate all the people that said that we couldn't do it because they fueled the fire.
Got it knocked out. So thank you again, Dustin. I appreciate this. We have successfully completed 1/10th scale lap here at PT's. And as always, we thank you guys for tuning in to PT's RC Need for Speed. This was One Lap and One Coke with Dustin Malicoat. See you next time.